Australia. It's 11:30 a.m., October 24th, 2035. You're listening to ABC News Radio Australia. Today, we bring you live coverage from the iconic Sydney Opera House, where the United Nations Day Conference is underway. It's a momentous event, uniting global leaders and citizens to discuss pressing issues of international peace and security. In a historic moment, Danny Rojas, the celebrated Yaren commander and leader of United Nations Task Force 67, is addressing an esteemed audience. Joined by her longtime ally, Camila Ryden Montero, and the rest of her elite team, Commander Rojas is expected to deliver a pivotal speech about safeguarding the world from the looming threat posed by the three largest private military companies, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark. These organizations have been accused of escalating tensions worldwide, risking catastrophic conflict. We go on to the correspondent. Live from Sydney Opera House, Anna Blake. Anna.
Thank you, Michael. The atmosphere here at the Sydney Opera House is electric as Commander Rojas takes the stage. Delegates from over 80 nations are in attendance, alongside thousands of Australian citizens. The Opera House is bathed in the colours of the UN flag, symbolising unity and hope.
Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, and the people of Australia, today we gather not as individuals from different nations but as one united front. Our world faces a new kind of war, one not fought by nations but by mercenaries driven by profit. Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark threaten the very fabric of our global peace. But together, we have the power to protect our people and ensure a future of safety and prosperity.
Michael, I'm afraid something is happening. Oh my god. Explosions. Massive explosions outside the Opera House.
Anna, are you safe? Can you confirm what's happening?
It appears Sydney is under attack. Smoke is rising near the harbour, and I can see chaos unfolding outside. People are screaming, trying to evacuate. Commander Rojas and her team are moving to secure the delegates. This is an invasion.
To our listeners, this is a developing and critical situation. We've just witnessed an unprecedented assault during the United Nations Day Conference. Danny Rojas and her team are reportedly leading efforts to protect the delegates as explosions rock Sydney Harbour.
The Opera House is being evacuated. Commander Rojas and her team are organizing a defensive perimeter. The three PMCs, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark, appear to be behind this assault. Michael, this is not just an attack on Sydney, it's an attack on Australia and global peace itself.
We urge everyone in Sydney and surrounding areas to remain indoors and follow emergency services instructions. This is an act of war, and we will continue providing updates as this dire situation unfolds. Our thoughts are with everyone in Sydney right now. Stay tuned to ABC News Radio for more updates. This is Michael Taylor. Stay safe, Australia.
Hello. No. Have a good day.
$2 large chips? Great shout. This is an emergency warning. The current threat level is emergency, meaning that there is an immediate and grave threat to lives, property, and the environment. All individuals must act now to protect themselves and their loved ones. An unprovoked invasion has occurred in Sydney, led by hostile private military corporations, Geiger Storm, Lightning Shark, and Crimson Sword. These forces have launched coordinated attacks across the city, causing widespread destruction. The key strikes are identified as follows. First, missile strikes. Intense bombardment has targeted key infrastructure and residential areas, causing catastrophic damage and loss of life. Then, bioweapon attacks. A reddish vivaro bioweapon is being deployed. This substance is lethal, causing widespread fatalities among humans and animals. Please be warned that animals appear to die first from exposure and are then reanimated as hostile creatures, posing a secondary threat to survivors. Here are the following immediate actions to follow. Evacuate immediately if you are in or near Sydney. Follow designated evacuation routes or seek underground shelters. Avoid contact with any reddish mist or substance, as it is highly toxic. Wear protective coverings if possible. If you encounter hostile animals or creatures, do not engage. Seek safety in secured locations. Stay indoors, close all windows and doors, and seal gaps to prevent exposure to the bioweapon. Emergency services are operating at full capacity. Dial 000 for immediate emergencies. Follow instructions from local authorities and emergency responders. Tune into official broadcasts on radio, television, or emergency apps for the latest updates. This message will be repeated periodically.
Mozzarella sticks are back, and they
This is an emergency warning. The current threat level is emergency, meaning that Australia is under severe and immediate threat. The safety of all citizens is at risk. 3 private military corporations, PMCs, are conducting a coordinated and unprovoked invasion of multiple regions across the country. Lightning Shark, originating from Russia, is using Russian and Soviet-era military vehicles to attack Melbourne, Uluru, Brisbane, Torquay, Gold Coast, and Katoomba. Crimson Sword, based in China, has launched assaults on Uluru, Perth, Adelaide, Byron Bay, Alice Springs, and Hobart using advanced Chinese military vehicles. Geiger Storm, an international PMC, is unleashing missile strikes and deploying a deadly Viviro bioweapon across all major towns and cities. The bioweapon is transforming animals into hostile, reanimated creatures after initial fatalities. Immediate evacuation is advised for residents in affected areas: New Canterbury, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Hobart, Gold Coast, Katoomba, Byron Bay, Darwin, Alice Springs, Torquay, Uluru, and Canberra. Follow official evacuation routes or proceed to designated emergency shelters. To protect yourself, avoid exposure to the Viviro bioweapon. Stay indoors, seal all doors and windows, and use protective gear if you must go outside. Avoid contact with reddish mist or substances. Do not engage hostile creatures. These reanimated animals are highly aggressive and dangerous. Prioritize escape over confrontation. Seek underground or reinforced shelters. If missile strikes are imminent, take shelter in underground bunkers, basements, or reinforced structures. If you seek communication and assistance, dial 000 for life-threatening emergencies. Emergency services are deployed across the nation. Stay tuned to official emergency broadcasts on radio, television, or emergency apps for real-time updates and instructions. Gather food, water, first aid kits, flashlights, and communication devices. Maintain access to critical documents and ensure vehicles have fuel in case further relocation is necessary. This is a time of national crisis. Follow instructions from emergency personnel and government authorities. Cooperation is critical to survival and recovery. This is an Australian government emergency alert. Take immediate action to protect yourself and your family. This message will be repeated.
Crispy, crispy, spiced up, crispy.
New saucy wicked wings with supercharged aioli or Korean barbecue, only at K.
This is an emergency alert from the New Zealand Civil Defence. This is not a drill. At 3:15 p.m. New Zealand Daylight Time, an unprovoked invasion began across New Zealand. Hostile private military corporations, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark, are conducting coordinated attacks throughout the nation. Details of this invasion are as follows. Geiger Storm has launched widespread missile strikes and deployed a deadly Viviro bioweapon targeting cities and towns nationwide. The bioweapon causes animals to perish first, only to reanimate as hostile creatures attacking survivors. Crimson Sword forces, armed with advanced Chinese military vehicles, have established operations in key locations across both the North and South Islands. Lightning Shark, using Russian and Soviet-era military vehicles, is coordinating attacks to disrupt critical infrastructure and population centers. Major cities, including Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Hamilton, Dunedin, Tauranga, Palmerston North, and Queenstown, are under siege. Smaller towns and rural areas are also being affected. No region is currently considered safe from this invasion. To protect yourself, all New Zealand citizens should follow immediate actions: seek shelter, move to reinforced shelters, underground locations, or civil defense emergency shelters if accessible. Avoid open spaces and unsecured structures. Avoid exposure. Stay indoors and seal windows and doors to avoid contact with the Viviro bioweapon. Do not approach animals displaying unnatural or hostile behavior. Evacuate if necessary. If your area is under immediate attack, follow evacuation orders from civil defense personnel. Use designated evacuation routes only. Prepare food, water, clothing, communication devices, and first aid supplies. Monitor official civil defense broadcasts on radio, television, or mobile emergency apps for updates and instructions. If you seek assistance, call 111 for immediate life-threatening emergencies. Emergency services are responding but may be delayed due to the scale of the invasion. Listen for local authorities' guidance and comply promptly. This is a time of unprecedented crisis for New Zealand. Your cooperation and swift action are critical to ensuring your safety and that of your community. This is an official civil defense emergency alert. Protect yourself and your family immediately. This message will repeat.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Hawaii State Legislature in accordance with the United States government. This is not a test. A full-scale invasion by 3 hostile private military corporations, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark, has been confirmed in major cities across Hawaii. This attack follows an initial invasion in Australia yesterday during the United Nations Day Conference of 2035. The major cities targeted include Honolulu, Hilo, Kailua-Kona, Pearl City, Kahului, and Lihue. These areas are experiencing heavy assaults involving missile strikes, military vehicles, and biological attacks using a substance similar to the Viviro bioweapon seen in Australia. The bioweapon causes animals to perish and reanimate as hostile creatures, posing additional dangers to civilians. The United States military has initiated a priority defense operation in Hawaii to protect strategic assets, including military bases such as Joint Base Pearl Harbor-Hickam and Marine Corps Base Hawaii. These operations are vital to national security and involve mobilizing all available personnel and resources for the defense of civilian populations, countering PMC forces using advanced military strategies and equipment, establishing secure zones to shelter affected civilians. All citizens in Hawaii should do the following procedures: seek shelter immediately, move to underground shelters, reinforce structures, or civil defense safe zones. Avoid exposure, stay indoors, seal windows and doors, and avoid contact with any reddish mist or unusual animal behavior. Do not travel. All flights leaving Hawaii have been canceled. All planes must remain grounded for safety. Prepare emergency supplies, gather food, water, first aid kits, and communication devices. The governor of Hawaii has declared a state of emergency and activated all emergency response teams. State resources are being directed toward evacuation assistance, medical care, and public safety. The National Guard has been fully mobilized to assist in the defense of civilians and infrastructure. Clear and timely communication will be provided through official channels to guide residents through this crisis. Stay tuned to this station for further updates, but this message will repeat in 5 minutes. Follow instructions from local authorities and prioritize your safety. Repeat, this is not a test.
Есть места, которые мы хорошо знаем, и куда идем за тем самым вкусом, той самой улыбкой, тем самым «мам, можно картошку?», за свиданием, которое было однажды, а запомнится навсегда, за кофе, без которого не проснуться, и тем самым моментом, когда зашли за кофе, а остались.
Это официальное экстренное сообщение, выпущенное Министерством по чрезвычайным ситуациям России совместно с Федеральной службой безопасности ФСБ. Ниже приводится общенациональное оповещение. Происходит полномасштабный государственный переворот, поскольку крупнейшая частная военная корпорация Lightning Shark свергла российское правительство. Сейчас они активно захватывают контроль над страной при поддержке Geiger Storm, международной ЧВК. Это беспрецедентная атака, нацеленная на ключевые города и регионы по всей России, включая крупные городские центры и сельские районы. Все областные центры и стратегические пункты, включая Москву, Санкт-Петербург, Новосибирск, Екатеринбург, Казань, Владивосток и Сочи, подвергаются массированным атакам с использованием военной техники, авиаударов и применения биологического оружия. Чечня, Дагестан, Ингушетия, Северная Осетия, Алания, Кабардино-Балкария и Карачаево-Черкесия подвергаются прямым атакам, сообщают о значительных разрушениях и жертвах среди гражданского населения. Геополитические последствия распространяются на соседние страны Южного Кавказа, включая Грузию, Армению и Азербайджан, которые испытывают дестабилизацию, поскольку силы ЧВК переходят границы, нацеливаясь на инфраструктуру и перемещая мирных жителей. ЧВК Lightning Shark использует российскую и советскую военную технику для быстрого укрепления власти, в то время как Geiger Storm обеспечивает логистическую и боевую поддержку. Были захвачены стратегические коммуникации, транспортные узлы и важнейшие правительственные объекты. Сообщения указывают на применение биологических агентов, похожих на биологическое оружие Вивера, что приводит к широкомасштабным смертельным случаям как среди людей, так и среди животных, а оживленные существа представляют дополнительную угрозу. Чтобы спастись от шторма Гейгера и акулы молнии, все граждане по всей стране должны следовать этим инструкциям. Если вы находитесь в зоне поражения, Переместитесь в подземные убежища, безопасные бункеры или обозначенные безопасные зоны. Избегайте открытых пространств и районов интенсивного конфликта. Не приближайтесь к районам с химическим или биологическим загрязнением. Оставайтесь в помещении и закройте все окна и вентиляцию. Следуйте указаниям местных властей и военнослужащих по эвакуации и безопасности. Собирайте еду, воду и предметы первой необходимости, поскольку доступ к основным ресурсам может быть серьезно ограничен. Российские военные силы пытаются противостоять этому беспрецедентному нападению, направляя подкрепления в ключевые регионы. Соседние страны на Южном Кавказе координируют свои действия с международными организациями для управления побочными эффектами. Ситуация остается крайне нестабильной, и ожидается дальнейшая эскалация. Это официальное предупреждение. Сохраняйте спокойствие, будьте в курсе событий и уделяйте первостепенное внимание своей безопасности. Дальнейшие обновления будут
This message is issued by the Canadian government. Canada is now under siege by the combined forces of three hostile private military corporations, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword, and Lightning Shark. This is the worst crisis in modern history, originating 2 days ago in Australia and now spreading worldwide. Major Canadian cities, including Toronto, Halifax, Montreal, Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, Mississauga, North York, Winnipeg, Scarborough, and Vancouver, are experiencing coordinated attacks. These assaults involve missile strikes, biological weapons deployment, and heavily armed military vehicles, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. If you are in an affected area, move to underground shelters, basements, or designated safe zones. Avoid open spaces and areas of active conflict. A biological agent similar to the Viviro bioweapon has been reported, causing deadly effects on humans and animals. Stay indoors, seal windows and doors, and avoid contact with any unusual substances or mist. Hostile forces and reanimated creatures are highly dangerous. Avoid confrontation and focus on reaching safety. Stockpile food, water, medical supplies, flashlights, and batteries. Communication networks may be compromised. Have alternative means of receiving updates. The Canadian Armed Forces and local law enforcement agencies have been mobilized nationwide to respond to this crisis. Military units are being deployed to defend critical infrastructure, protect civilians, and establish evacuation routes. Law enforcement is working to maintain order and ensure public safety amidst the chaos. Despite the scale of the attacks, efforts are being made to create secure zones for displaced citizens and mitigate the enemy's advance. All flights leaving Canada have been cancelled and all planes must remain grounded for public safety. Airports are being repurposed as logistical hubs for emergency operations. Schools, universities, and workplaces will remain closed until further notice. Citizens are advised to stay home unless instructed otherwise by emergency personnel. Large public venues, including stadiums and convention centers, are being converted into evacuation centers to provide shelter, medical care, and essential services to displaced residents. This is a national emergency of unprecedented scale. Canadians are urged to remain calm, follow instructions from authorities, and prioritize the safety of themselves and their families. Further updates will be issued through official channels. Stay tuned to this station and remain vigilant.
Ce message est transmis par le gouvernement canadien. Le Canada est maintenant assiégé par les forces combinées de 3 sociétés militaires privées hostiles, Geiger Storm, Crimson Sword et Lightning Shark. Il s'agit de la pire crise de l'histoire moderne, née il y a 2 jours en Australie et qui s'étend maintenant au monde entier. Les grandes villes canadiennes, dont Toronto, Halifax, Montréal, Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, Mississauga, New York, Winnipeg, Scarborough et Vancouver, subissent des attaques coordonnées. Ces assauts impliquent des frappes de missiles, le déploiement d'armes biologiques et l'utilisation de véhicules militaires lourdement armés, causant des destructions et des pertes en vies humaines généralisées. Si vous vous trouvez dans une zone touchée, déplacez-vous vers des abris souterrains, des sous-sols ou des zones de sécurité désignées. Évitez les espaces ouverts et les zones de conflit actifs. Un agent biologique semblable à l'arme biologique Virigo a été signalé, causant des effets mortels sur les humains et les animaux. Restez à l'intérieur, scellez les fenêtres et les portes et évitez tout contact avec des substances ou brouillards inhabituels. Les forces hostiles et les créatures réanimées sont très dangereuses. Évitez la confrontation et concentrez-vous sur la sécurité. Entreposez de la nourriture, de l'eau, des fournitures médicales, des lampes de poche et des piles. Les réseaux de communication peuvent être compromis, avoir d'autres moyens de recevoir des mises à jour. Les forces armées canadiennes et les forces de l'ordre local ont été mobilisées à l'échelle nationale pour répondre à cette crise. Des unités militaires sont déployées pour défendre les infrastructures essentielles, protéger les civils et établir des voies d'évacuation. Les forces de l'ordre s'efforcent de maintenir l'ordre et d'assurer la sécurité publique au milieu du chaos. Malgré l'ampleur des attaques, des efforts sont déployés pour créer des zones sécurisées pour les citoyens déplacés et atténuer l'avancée de l'ennemi. Tous les vols quittant le Canada ont été annulés et tous les avions doivent rester au sol pour des raisons de sécurité publique. Les aéroports sont transformés en centres logistiques pour les opérations d'urgence. Les écoles, les universités et les lieux de travail resteront fermés jusqu'à nouvel ordre. Il est conseillé aux citoyens de rester à la maison, sauf indication contraire du personnel d'urgence. De grands lieux publics, notamment des stades et des centres de congrès, sont transformés en centres d'évacuation pour fournir un abri, des soins médicaux et des services essentiels aux résidents déplacés. Il s'agit d'une urgence nationale d'une ampleur sans précédent. Les Canadiens sont priés de rester calmes, de suivre les instructions des autorités et de donner la priorité à leur sécurité et à celle de leur famille. D'autres mises à jour seront publiées par les canaux officiels. Restez à l'écoute de cette station, et restez vigilants.
What if our spicy chicken sandwich was actually spicy? Like crunchy spicy? Like juicy spicy? Oh boy, oh boy, oh!
This is BBC from London. Normal programming has been suspended indefinitely. Stand by for the emergency warning. This is BBC from London. Normal programming has been suspended indefinitely. Stand by for the emergency warning.
This is the BBC from London. It is with shocking urgency that we report Geiger Storm and Lightning Shark private military corporations, PMCs, have launched an unprovoked invasion targeting the United Kingdom, Scotland, Gibraltar, and Ireland. These coordinated assaults represent an unprecedented attack on our nations, leaving devastation in their wake. The major cities currently under attack include London, Birmingham, Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Belfast, Cardiff, Dublin, Gibraltar, and Cork. Geiger Storm operatives have primarily focused on disabling critical infrastructure, while Lightning Shark forces, using advanced military vehicles, have overwhelmed urban areas with precision strikes. Key motorways, including the M25, M1, M4, M6, A1M, and M8, are under siege, making travel highly dangerous. Reports indicate ambushes, roadblocks, and heavy military activity. Residents are advised to avoid all motorways and find alternative, safer shelter routes. All residents are advised to seek immediate shelter. If you are in a city under attack, move to underground shelters, secure basements, or designated evacuation centers. Do not engage with hostile forces or reanimated creatures. Those on motorways should exit to the nearest safe area and avoid main routes. Stay hidden and wait for instructions from emergency services. The London Zoo has been infected with a Viviro bioweapon, causing animals to perish and reanimate as hostile creatures now wreaking havoc across the nation. Similar outbreaks have been reported in other parts of the country. Avoid areas with zoos, wildlife reserves, or reports of unusual animal behavior. The British Armed Forces, Special Forces, and law enforcement are fully mobilized to counter this invasion. Military units are securing key locations, defending critical infrastructure, and attempting to contain the spread of the Viviro bioweapon. The Royal Navy and RAF are conducting operations to intercept PMC reinforcements and secure nations' borders. Law enforcement agencies are assisting with civilian evacuations, maintaining order, and providing support in heavily affected areas. All flights leaving the UK and Ireland have been cancelled. Airports are grounding all planes for public safety and are being repurposed as emergency hubs for medical care and evacuation operations. King Charles III and the royal family have been safely relocated to a secure and undisclosed location. The government is coordinating with military and security agencies to ensure their continued protection. The Prime Minister will address the nation at 8 p.m. GMT on all major stations to provide updates on the situation, outline emergency measures, and offer guidance to all citizens. This is a time of national crisis. Remain calm, follow all instructions from authorities, and prioritize your safety. Stay tuned to the BBC for further updates.
这里是 CGTN。整场节目已无限期暂停，请留意中华人民共和国应急管理部发布的紧急信息。这里是 CGTN。整场节目已无限期暂停，请留意中华人民共和国应急管理部发布的紧急信息。
此消息由应急管理部广播。赤红之箭 PMC 推翻了中国政府，正在中国大陆以及香港和澳门特别行政区造成破坏。在盖级风暴的配合下，这些部队部署了先进的军车和看似无敌的超级士兵，给国家带来了灾难性的危机。中国各大城市，包括北京、上海、广州、深圳、重庆、天津、成都、西安、武汉、杭州、南京和哈尔滨都遭受了重创。在香港和澳门，关键基础设施、交通枢纽和人口稠密地区成为攻击目标，导致大面积破坏和混乱。报告证实，源自亚染的生物武器 Viviro 物质已在全国范围内释放。这种物质导致动物产生杀伤力，并在死后复活为敌对生物。拥有大型动物园、野生动物保护区和农村农业区的地区正在经历最严重的疫情。避免与受影响的动物或红色雾气接触，并立即向紧急服务部门报告目击情况。收到此广播的每个人都应转移到地下避难所、地下室或任何加固结构，远离窗户和人流量大的区域。不要接近受影响的动物或被 Viviro 物质污染的区域。留在室内，所有门窗都牢固密封。遵守当地政府的疏散命令，前往指定的安全区。准备好食物、水、急救箱、手电筒、电池和重要文件，做好长期避难的准备。所有国际和国内航班均已取消。中国大陆、香港和澳门机场的所有飞机都停飞。所有学校、大学和私人资助机构将保持关闭，直至另行通知。中国人民解放军 PLA 和当地执法机构正在努力恢复秩序，并打击 Crimson Sword 和 Geiger Storm 势力。正在采取行动遏制 Viviro 物质爆发，并保护平民。尽管面临巨大挑战，但夺回关键地区控制权的努力仍在继续。中国国家主席将于美国中部标准时间晚上9点，在所有国家和地区电台，包括香港和澳门的广播上向全国发表讲话，提供最新消息、指导和保证。这是我们国家前所未有的危机时期。保持冷静，遵循官方指示，将您和家人的安全放在首位。后续将发布更多最新消息。
This message is broadcast by the Ministry of Emergency Management. The Crimson Sword PMC has overthrown the Chinese government and is unleashing devastation across mainland China, as well as the special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. In coordination with Geiger Storm, these forces have deployed advanced military vehicles and super soldiers that appear to be invincible, creating a catastrophic crisis for the nation. Major cities across China, including Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Chongqing, Tianjin, Chengdu, Ilavanan, Wuhan, Hangzhou, Nanjing, and Harbin, are under heavy assault. In Hong Kong and Macau, key infrastructure, transportation hubs, and densely populated areas have been targeted, leading to widespread destruction and chaos. Reports confirm that the Viviro substance, a bioweapon originating from Yara, has been unleashed across the nation. This substance is causing animals to become homicidal and reanimate into hostile creatures after death. Regions with large zoos, wildlife reserves, and rural farming areas are experiencing the most severe outbreaks. Avoid any interaction with affected animals or reddish mist and report sightings to emergency services immediately. Everyone receiving this broadcast should move to underground shelters, basements, or any reinforced structure. Stay away from windows and heavily trafficked areas. Do not approach affected animals or areas contaminated with Viviro substances. Stay indoors with all doors and windows securely sealed. Follow evacuation orders from local authorities and proceed to designated safe zones. Gather food, water, first aid kits, flashlights, batteries, and critical documents. Remain prepared for extended periods of sheltering. All international and domestic flights have been cancelled. All airplanes are grounded across airports in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau. All schools, universities, and private-funded institutions will remain closed until further notice. The People's Liberation Army, PLA, and local law enforcement agencies are working to restore order and combat the Crimson Sword and Geiger Storm forces. Operations are underway to contain Viviro substance outbreaks and protect civilian populations. Despite significant challenges, efforts to reclaim control of critical regions are ongoing. The President of China will address the nation at 9 p.m. CST on all national and regional stations, including broadcasts in Hong Kong and Macau, to provide updates, guidance, and reassurance. This is a time of unparalleled crisis for our nation. Remain calm, follow official instructions, and prioritize your safety and the safety of your family. Further updates will follow.